In the early 1960s, during the height of the Cold War, a mutant named Charles Xavier meets a fellow mutant named Eric Lyncher. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, Charles grew up with a wealthy family, while Eric lost his parents at Auschwitz. The two become close friends. As the world teeters on the brink of a nuclear war, Charles and Eric with other mutants join forces to save humanity. However, the situation soon tears the friends apart. Today we discuss X-Men First Class.
Qualified morons and microphones. This is the previously recorded podcast.
All right, welcome back to Previously Recorded. I am your host, RP, as always, and continuing our Fox Marvel rewatch. I am here today with my very close friend and fourth chair of the show, Marvel. Welcome back to the show. What's new with you?
Nothing. I'm pumped.
Yeah,
I called my shot in this one, and there was a reason.
you called your shot from the beginning. This is the one you wanted to do. And here we are. We're doing it. And I'm really excited to get into this one, as always. When was the last time you sat down and watched this movie start to finish?
Start to finish, I have no idea, but I've watched this movie so many times.
Yeah.
I feel like rewatching, I was just like, oh, I haven't sat and watched it completely, but beat by beat, I kind of know this movie really well because I think it's just the FX of it.
Yeah.
Where it's if it's on FX, when I was flipping through, I go, ooh, X-Men First Class, and just stop no matter where it was. So from beginning to end, I can't say, probably 10 years ago for
Days of
Future Past, if I had to guess. But
yeah,
since then, I've seen bits and pieces of this movie dozens of times easily.
I think same, probably 10 years. This I've always regarded as one of the best X-Men movies. But I haven't sat down and watched it for quite some time, so it was fun to revisit. And I picked up on some things that I didn't in the past, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. So I guess without further ado, let's get into X-Men First Class. So X-Men First Class was released on June 3rd, 2011, directed by Matthew Vaughn, who has since, in prior episodes, we've discussed that, he was in the running for X3, developed it for a little bit, stepped away, did Kick-Ass, and he's gone on to do Kingsman, and he's a very
great
popular
movies. I think he's a great director.
He is a great director. Written by Ashley Miller, Zach Stentz, and Jane Goldman. The story credits also go to Sheldon Turner and Bryan Singer. Also, on a budget of $150 million, it went on to gross $353.6 million with $55.1 million coming from opening weekend, which actually is the lowest X-Men opening since the original movie, which was $54.5 million. And critical reception was 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, with the consensus saying, with a strong script, stylish direction, and powerful performances from its well-rounded cast, X-Men First Class is a welcome return to form for the franchise. And I think
do you know why this did so poorly?
I assume just because it came out shortly after Origins.
Yeah, so this movie had really bad
marketing,
not marketing. It had really bad word of mouth as it was coming out.
Oh,
so
really?
Brian Vaughn jumped on 10 months before this movie was or not jumped on, but started filming 10 months before it was supposed to release.
Matthew Vaughn?
Yeah, what'd I say?
Brian Vaughn. That's all right. You
Matthew Vaughn,
Yeah, same thing.
So he started filming this 10 months before release. They wrote the script in 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
And then it was originally slated to be a Magneto prequel movie before Origins did so bad, Wolverine Origins. So word of mouth for this movie was pretty bad. This is the age of the internet when it was read articles just trashing it.
And I'm sure too, a brand new cast.
Yeah. Do you remember the posters for this movie?
No, I don't.
They were terrible. It was a silhouette of Charles Xavier, and then they put McAvoy's head in there.
Oh,
and then there was another one with Magneto. They put Fassbender in there.
Oh man, Yeah, these posters are not good.
So
I
young
know
Brian
exactly.
and along with other people had no faith in this movie.
Yeah, and coming off of X-Men Origins,
Yeah.
you were like, well, no. And people might have also been in the same vein to the same reaction. Spider-Man, oh, it's too soon to reboot.
Yeah, I was like, prequel, boo.
Yeah,
And
but
then
they,
at the time I didn't know McAvoy, I didn't know Fassbender. Like,
yeah, no, they were relatively I
hmm
don't want to say like new, but they were younger,
hmm
up and coming that really weren't known. But yeah, basically what you said, it originally spawned from the idea to do a young X-Men team, like team film, and then that spawned into the origin stories. But then like you said, there was a plan to do the Magneto origins, but
hmm
due to the lack of success of Wolverine, they scrapped those plans and not so much the financial success, but more so just the reception to it. Because people,
hmm
because the movie did well, X-Men Origins,
Yeah, it did well, yeah.
it did well, but people just like kind of were like, yeah,
But I'm sure comparing this one to like Days of Future Past because of how well this one did. I mean, it's
yes,
also bringing back the old cast, but I think people like X3 was such a stinker,
yeah,
Wolverine's origin was a stinker, and then they make a prequel, and you're just
yeah,
like, ugh, like I'm kind of
yeah.
over it. So I'm sure this movie should have done better.
Yeah, I agree, and so they just took those ideas of the young team and the origin to just put them
hmm
into one. So uh, I can't recall if I saw this in theaters. I know I bought it the week it came out
hmm
on home video, but I don't remember if I saw this in the movie theaters.
Yeah, I
And
100% saw this at theaters. This
yeah,
was around the time I was seeing like everything,
yeah,
especially anything comic book related. Like I was
sure.
going.
Yeah, no, I don't think so because I would have seen this with my dad, and I remember having to like once I bought it, set it up for him to watch. Like that's
hmm
all I remember. But I may have seen it in the theaters though, because this was the
Yeah, I mean, you
same.
would have been 8. I was like
No,
32, so
no,
it's just
no. This came out in 2011, so I was not 8. I was like 16 when this came out. Yeah, yeah. I was like 16 when this movie came out. But this was around the same time that I was seeing everything in theaters too, super like comic book related. Because I just believed in I loved one going to the theater, but then just seeing everything superhero related. So this may have been something that I saw without my dad, but I because we see every superhero movie together. I can't remember. But so Matthew Vaughn, as you talked about, like he joined late in the process, and
mhm.
he wasn't originally considered because of backing out of X-Men 3. But after the success of Kick-Ass, the studio was like, maybe we should give him a chance. So he originally was hesitant, but upon learning more and more about the film, he saw this is the perfect opportunity to combine multiple projects that he wanted to do into one film, which is the political thriller, a James Bond sort of spy film, and then of
Mhm.
course the X-Men of it all. So that's just kind of like what drew him to the project. The film, also a fun fact about the film is that it resurrects the concept from the comics that radiation plays a key in the genetic mutation, which a
Mhm.
lot of the newer, basically every kind of storyline now in the X-Men is that it's just attributed to evolution and natural selection.
Yeah. Well, I like that was like to jump into the end where that was what's his name? Shaw, right?
Yeah, yeah, Kevin Bacon, sure.
Yeah, he was just like, I'm gonna nuclear blast the world and only mutants will live. It's like, are you sure about that? Like what? Like he just assumed like,
He didn't really
yeah,
do
just
his
kill everybody, we'll be fine.
he didn't really do his research. But so as we mentioned, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender were new to this role, new to the X-Men universe, and were cast in the roles of Professor X and Magneto. So McAvoy was Vaughn's first choice to play Xavier and auditioned with every Magneto actor to make sure that their chemistry was right. Fassbender auditioned for a role in another Vaughn project, and remembering that audition, Vaughn set Fassbender the script. He was unfamiliar with the character, but after diving into the comics a bit, he became very interested in playing Magneto, as most people do if you were to research basically
hmm
any of the X-Men. So both actors were told to start fresh and make zero reference to the prior films' handling of Charles and Eric. And producer Laura Schuler Donner said that Bacon was considered for Shaw because they wanted to find an actor who could convey a villain with different shades that not always clear that he's the bad guy. So they were kind of going for Thanos effect, as what we've seen now, with Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, where, he is the villain, but also you can see that there's logic to his thought process. Thanos, I'm saying it's right. And then one of the last people to join was, at this time, she was just coming off I think it might have been right before the success of the
I think
Hunger
it was right
Games.
before. I think she
But
filmed this kind of like
like hand in
before
hand.
Hunger Games came out,
Okay.
but like filmed Hunger Games.
Yeah, when did the Hunger Games come out? I feel like that's like a
I
2012
probably around the
movie.
same time. Like,
The Hunger Games came out in 2012, so right after. So whenever she
mm,
finished this, she probably went right to the Hunger Games. But Jennifer
mhm.
Lawrence chose this project because she wanted to do something after completing the film Winter's Bone. She was hesitant due to Rebecca Romijn playing the character previously and felt that it was intimidating to step into this role because she was the most gorgeous woman in the world, is what she said. And Vaughn said Lawrence was picked because she could pull off the challenging dichotomy that Raven faces as she transforms into Mystique, and that she portrays that vulnerability that shields a powerful inner strength, which, sure, I agree with. I think Lawrence is a fantastic actress. She's good
Mhm.
in everything she does, and I do truly love her. But that's kind of most of the backstory, pre-production. The lineup, if you want to run through it, we can. Is that they wanted to use characters that had not been seen or used yet. So the bad guys was Emma Frost, played by
Mhm.
January Jones, Azazel, Angel, and Riptide. And then the good guys were Xavier, Magneto, Mystique, Havoc, Darwin, Banshee, and Beast. Beast was played by Nicholas Holt.
Mhm.
But that's kind of the rundown, the pre-production background, the kind of the fun scoops that I found while researching the film before and after watching it. So did I miss anything? Because you usually come pretty prepared and have a lot of notes. And as you know, you called this your shot. Was there anything in the pre-production phase or the development or anything like that? Good background information.
Nah, kind of found the same. I thought it was funny though that he left X-Men 3 because he felt rushed. And then the rush of writing the script and filming within 10 months was like
I
funny that he came back to it.
I actually didn't know that they shot it in, like, that's how it went down. I did not
Mhm.
know that. So
Yeah.
you're bringing data that I didn't even find
Yeah,
in my
like I said,
research.
at the time this was coming out, it was ripe for internet gossip and news. So like all those
Yeah.
comingsoon.net, superherohype.coms were like
hmm
they look for anything. So I remember, like I said, reading about this movie and just be like, oh boy, this is gonna bomb. Oh, we have another Wolverine. Oh boy.
No, we actually have a pretty damn good movie.
It's one of my favorite. I think it's my
Yeah.
favorite X-Men movie.
So
Just going off the bat side of that.
yeah, we'll start. Okay, so we know that you like this. Is there
Love it.
anything
Love it.
that you didn't like about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could not care less about the kids. All I care about is Charles Xavier, Magneto, and
What about Mystique?
Kevin Bacon's character. If the
Mm,
kids weren't in it, I know you have to just to have a movie.
Yeah.
I'd be fine. I think the kids are like whatever, and the only like real problem I have with this movie is January Jones as like Emma Frost, and such a waste of character where it's just like
I
I don't
think
know.
I
And the
think
diamond form looks awful.
yeah, I mean that's a product of its time. I
Yeah.
just think they hadn't really figured out
Hmm.
um the CGI to like motion capture. I think other studios did. Obviously, at this point,
Yeah.
the Avengers was getting ready to come out, so the Hulk looked great.
Yeah. It just looked
Um
like too. I
there's
don't
a
know.
there's a
It just didn't look
lot
good.
of shots that surprise me when I see the budget, that's how they look. Agreed. January Jones, Emma Frost, steel form, diamond form,
Mm.
looked weird. The aquarium scene with Banshee, with all the fish, looked god awful.
Really? I don't know.
Yeah, the fish looked terrible. Like it
Oh, I
just
mean, I wasn't
like
paying attention to fish. I was looking at the
it
ring.
looked like no, the ring looked fine. It looked like I did it at home on my Mac. Like it just looked like one of those Zoom filters. And I just want to comment too on January Jones that I felt that all of the women, mainly Mystique and January Jones, And even Angel, I think were useless. I think they were a bit underused and kind of just used as like a sex symbol. Like it's
So
something of the time. I do think.
yeah, I wouldn't say Mystique. Mystique's pivotal to this movie.
I would say mainly January Jones, a little bit of Rose Byrne's character, and then Angel, of course.
Yeah, Mystique's huge in this. Like
Well, she's got the emotional arc of
I mean,
of the
she carries, but she also carries that like idea of a mutant
Mhm.
and like her looks and like she's a good blend of these freak mutants that you see or these like human can blend in kind of mutants and like it sets up those seeds of like Magneto flirting with her in the movie and why she joins him later, even though the timeline doesn't really fit that this is a
Yeah,
true prequel.
yeah. Which I
But the
don't think it
idea of him
is.
being like, you're beautiful, blue, and
Yeah.
then you have Beast like, you're beautiful. And she's like, this isn't me. Like,
Well, Charles is the same way. Charles is a dick to her too.
oh yeah, Charles.
As we
Charles is
talked about,
wild in this movie.
he is wild in this movie, and I like that he's wild.
Yeah.
But he's kind of just like she's trying to like fuck him, and he's just
Mm,
like, no, you're my friend,
yeah.
which is fine. That's fine. And then Beast is an asshole too, and he's just like, you look
Mm,
better this way. And but I understand some of the mutant, obviously the plot of the movie with the mutants being accepted and everything makes sense, and it's a good use of her character. And I think Jennifer
mm,
Lawrence is great. But I do think that like January Jones and Rose Byrne were kind of just used as like hot women,
mm,
and they were just like useless. Where other characters were given like cooler moments that I think like they basically just throw January Jones in a cell at one point, and then she kind of just stays
yeah, I mean,
there,
she
and then
starts off as like a stripper essentially.
yeah, and then
Yeah, it's her introduction.
Angel starts banging Kevin Bacon, and it's just like okay, like
Mm,
whatever, sure. And then huge problem. Beast looks awful. He looks god awful.
you're
He
dumb.
looks
You're
like
dumb as shit.
he looks like the
You're
Beast from
you're
the
so dumb.
Have you ever
Don't do
seen?
it.
Have
Don't you
you
say it.
have you ever seen?
Don't you dare.
What do you think I'm gonna say?
You're gonna tell me that that beast looks worse than the Miss Marvel beast?
No, no, I'm not talking about that. But
Okay.
yes, he does. The Miss Marvel Beast, the Captain Marvel Beast, the
I
Marvel's
got
Beast. That one,
CGI fairy beast greater than
no.
CGI beast of Marvels.
Kelsey Grammer's great as both versions. I think that the one that in the Marvels looks exactly like Hank McCoy from the cartoon.
It looks like
Have you
garbage.
rewatched it?
Yes.
I think the Beast. You think the Beast in this movie looks good?
I think it looks better than
It looks like the
the Marvels.
Lifetime TLC's Beauty and the Beast from like the 90s.
It's practical. You
Oh
know
my
I would
god.
go practical.
Sure,
It's practical and CGI mixed.
Kelsey
But
Grammer is practical, and that
yeah,
looks
Kelsey
good.
Grammer looks great.
This looks awful.
It doesn't look awful. You're out of your mind.
Dude, it was distracting for me how bad it looked.
How great it looked. You're
His mouth is like like it's just up and
listen.
down. It's bad. It's bad.
It's not that bad.
It's
I will
bad.
say
Tell
his
me
run looks awful. When he
everything
does like
about
super
the
speed.
Beast. It's awful. It's bad. It's very bad. How do you go from Kelsey Grammer? How do you make it worse? How do you make it
They
worse?
didn't.
How do you make it? I think he looks terrible. I think he looks terrible. The
Well,
transformation
we all allowed
scene,
to our opinions.
also, when they does the transformation scene, it makes him appear huge, and then when they show him again, he just looks normal. He looks like a normal furry. He looks like a furry.
Just move on. Let's go. It's fine.
He looks like Beauty and the Beast from the 90s. When this episode comes out, I'm going to post a side-by-side comparison, and you're going to be wrong. I'm telling you. He looks bad. I would take the Marvel's Beast over this any day of the week.
You're nuts. You're out of your damn mind.
We
all right, whatever. X-Men First Beast is not.
Okay, all right. Those are my and there's some very there's a lot of camera shots that are like very 2000 late 2000s.
I think you and I are going to fight on this one. Are you talking about the filling?
What filling?
When he rips the filling out of the guy's mouth?
No, I like that. That was fun.
Okay. All right.
No, like there's like some like close-ups of like the eyes and stuff like that. There's like things like that.
All right.
But yeah, everything other than that, those are my only complaints. The cameos I thought were great.
Mm.
I can't really think of anything else bad wise. One thing though that we talked about on a prior episode was like you got confused about which the X-Men opening and this
Oh
opening,
yeah,
and they're basically the same. I think this opening is amazing how
yeah.
they add on top of it, but Matthew Vaughn wasn't connecting with Magneto in the script, and so he's like, we got to go back to X1 because he's like,
Hmm.
that's a perfect opening. And I like how they use that, like you said, with more color,
Yep, it's brighter for sure.
and then how they expanded on that with the where he shoots his mother. Like I was just
Yeah.
like, this
Oh,
is a
such a good
great
opening.
because you're immediately on Magneto's side because you already know who Magneto is going into this, so
Hmm.
you're automatically on his side, and then it sets Shaw up to be this great villain. Like it's an
It's
awesome opening.
the whole opening itself is fantastic with the whole concentration camp, the guy looking out the window just sipping tea while this awful shit is happening, which is just like, oh, like go fuck yourself. And then when you're in the office and the shot where they're talking, it's just like a normal room. But when they flip the scene around and you see the torture chamber on the other side, it's
Oh
so fucking good because you know, like this guy's just like, hey man, you want some chocolate? Like we're good, we're
yeah,
friends. But you
yep.
know, he is a monster immediately. You're like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
this guy's a problem.
Mm-hmm. It
I thought
was
that shot was so good. And then like the transition from that to like Charles Xavier living in his posh mansion, it creates such a
yep,
good like parallel of like who they are and like
yep.
why they are the way that they are.
Absolutely agree. One growing up rich, the other one going through literally hell. It literally helps you understand Magneto and everything that he does. Like
Hmm.
you're like, I understand why he wants to destroy people who are not mutants because he's suffered so much.
But he
Of this.
doesn't. That's the thing. Magneto doesn't want to kill humans. That's Shaw. Like that's the other good parallel where you have
He
Shaw
just,
wants to rule.
yeah,
Charles
Magneto
Xavier
doesn't.
wants to coexist. Magneto just wants to be free.
Yes, yes,
That's why it's so good. It's like, fuck, he doesn't
and
want to kill everybody. He just doesn't want another concentration camp of
exactly.
mutants.
Exactly. That's what I mean is
Yeah.
that he will do what he needs to protect the mutants at all
Hmm.
costs and make sure that like you said, like we talked about, I don't know if that was on an episode or in just us hanging out, but he said I'll never be like enslaved again basically.
Hmm.
And it allows you to understand, wow, I mean, his mother was killed just because he was forced to perform and he couldn't like,
Hmm.
and it just sets up like this great understanding of the character, how he become like
It's all you need.
it's how you correctly do an origin
Hmm.
movie. I think hats off to Vaughn, hats off to the actors as well because they could have just phoned it in, but Fassbender is amazing in this, and I think this is the best one of McAvoy's best movies as
Hmm.
well. I think he's amazing in it. More towards the end because this like let's get into the Charles that we see in this movie because you even said like it's crazy the contrast of what we see in the
Hmm.
X-Men trilogy and then even afterwards and then the Charles that's in this movie.
Yeah, it's just crazy because you see Charles Xavier in the future and he's a stoic like professor. And then like one of the first scenes they cut to is him like drinking in a bar and macking on a girl. Like it's just really cool to see that. And then
Mhm.
like again with the parallels, which like this movie does so well. Like the writing and the characterization does like really well. Where like later on, you see Magneto killing those two people in the bar that were like
Oh yes,
they
yeah,
were former Nazis and he
that
was
scene's
hunting them
great. That
and
scene's
he's
great.
like fucking them up. He causes the bartender to shoot the one guy and then they cut to him and the other guy's like a knife in his hand and Magneto just stops to like sip a beer. He's just like savoring in this moment that he's been like waiting for. And I'm pretty sure right after that it cuts to Professor X like doing a boot
Press.
and,
Oh
and
yeah,
get like
yeah,
fucked up in the bar.
yeah.
And you're
Because
just
he.
like, again, like the parallels of this guy's hunting Nazis and like just living this awful life. And here's Professor X just like
Mhm.
partying because he became a professor officially.
Yeah, Yep. Yeah, basically. And then
Mm,
Charles gets roped in because his presentation was on, or his like thesis was on mutation and
hmm
everything like that. And you see him like reciting lines from that to like get babes. And
Yeah, he was
um,
literally about to hit on a blonde he hit on earlier when
mhm.
Moira walked over, and then he tried to use the
Yep.
same line on her, and she's like, "I got shit to do." Like it's
Which,
like knock
yeah,
it
yeah,
off.
that was great. I love Rose Byrne. This was like my first
Hmm
introduction to her too. Oh my God, I love her so much. What happens, like what brings her to them is like she sees at the Hellfire Club, which was cool.
hmm
Basically she finds out Charles' plan and she's like, this is what's gonna happen, and the government's like, are you out of your goddamn mind? And then they bring Charles in and everything, and
Yeah, yeah,
that
because
kind
she's
of
like what
starts it.
CIA,
She's CIA. Yep.
and she
And she strips down to her undies to sneak
do they
into the
explain like why is she just onto Hellfire's radar somehow? Like,
there's something about the government official that's meeting there,
okay,
and then they're
yeah,
gonna
she goes
like
to the club, right? That's how she kind of yeah,
because she's following the government official. I don't know if he's
gotcha.
in the military or whatever, but they're worried about them putting bombs in Turkey. I think they said
Yeah, because
um,
it's the
Cold
bomb
War.
scare. Yeah, they're
Yeah, and
just
everything. And I think that the use of the real world events, that like the Cold War and everything, like as the backdrop was
hmm
pretty cool. And so this is basically how they bring Charles in. He does a presentation, like you're crazy, blah blah blah. And then they have this other CIA agent who that actor, I love that actor.
Oliver Platt.
Yeah,
Love that guy.
he's the
Yep.
best. He's so everything he does, I love him, and he's great.
Yeah, I love how giddy he was because it's
Yeah,
like he's finally right. Like
I
he's definitely like a knockoff of Fox Mulder from X Files, where it's like
yeah.
he's finally right. He's like, yeah, like all right.
I literally laughed out loud when they were like, "We gotta go," and when they leave the meeting with him, and then Charles does like get in the car or whatever, and he's like, "I think we should go now," and like sits down.
Yeah.
I like literally laughed out loud. I thought he was great. So then this kind of sets the plot in motion, and they go and they're the ones that they meet Beast. They meet Hank McCoy, who in this version Hank McCoy creates Cerebro, and
I love that Professor X outs him.
yeah, 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 like
So yeah,
immediately.
like so Hank McCoy's working with this agent to like hunt mutants or like whatever, be deep cover, and he doesn't even realize he's a mutant.
Yeah.
And Professor X like, oh, another mutant. And the guy's like, what the fuck? And he says, "Don't ask, don't tell," which is funny because that's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the early
Obviously.
'90s army of
Yep.
"Don't ask, don't tell" if you're gay.
And then you see that his weird feet, and then this begins the whole process of finding other mutants.
Mm,
You see a young Storm in Cerebro, and then they go and they start recruiting, and then one of the best cameos. When I saw this
hmm
movie, I fucking love this cameo. When you see they walk into the bar, Magneto and Xavier, and they walk up to recruit the mutant, and the mutants, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and then he just tells them to fuck off. And
Yeah.
it's
Or he says, "Go fuck yourselves," right?
yeah, he says something. Yeah,
I think
yeah,
he says,
go.
"Go fuck," because I think the original I read, the original line was "fuck off," and they
Yeah,
did like a bunch of takes, and him saying like "Go fuck yourself." They were like, "It just seems the most you're the most angry." Like,
yeah.
so we're gonna.
I love that cameo.
hmm
I think it's perfect
It's all you
because
need.
it's all
It just
it's
yeah.
exactly. And then so they have their team, and as I mentioned earlier, the team is like Darwin and Banshee and Angel, and
There's a bunch of
I
kids
could
I don't care about.
yeah, and they're giving themselves their code names or whatever, and like I could care less. Like
Yeah.
this is the point of the movie. This is the downside, which I should be excited as like these are the other X Men, the original X Men.
hmm
Havoc's cool, Banshee's cool. Obviously, Mystique doesn't count because she's very cool. But
Established
like
already.
this, for me, bogs down the movie. I think that this is where the thing I didn't remember, or maybe I used to like. I think this is where it kind of like the a takeaway for the pacing and plot of the movie.
hmm
Even though it's essential, but it's like they have somebody tap on the glass like you freaks, but I'm like it's literally a mutant facility. So
Yeah.
why is there a security guard or CIA agent that's like working there if he thinks they're free? Like whatever. And then Shaw
Yeah.
shows
Yeah.
up and with Azazel.
Oh, Azazel, awesome.
So fucking awesome. I didn't
Just
remember because again, I haven't seen this movie in a really long time. I didn't remember how fucking cool he was.
yeah, he just drops everybody. He teleports in, grabs every like
like
agent there and just drops them from the sky.
yeah, it was so cool. Shot was awesome. Like all the action in this movie is really really great. And I think that that's a Matthew Vaughn
No,
like
that's his style.
when
He's
you
great at it.
yeah, his camera work, his cuts, like
Mhm.
everything, his just like his creative team that he works with to design the action scenes, like they use the powers to like the best of their ability
Mhm.
to show a fucking cool movie. And I'm pumped because like I didn't remember any of this. And then as we've seen in the Deadpool trailer, as we are leading up to Deadpool Wolverine, Zazel's in the background. So at
Yeah.
least if we get him for like a scene or whatever, it's still cool to have him back because he's awesome. So that was really,
Yeah.
really, that was one of my takeaways was like how fucking cool and why hasn't he been used before?
Yeah, he was
Because
just
he's
kind of
basic,
dropped. That was it. That
yeah,
was the only cool thing he did.
he's basically a bad guy version of Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler, yeah. Well, he's
But
Nightcrawler's dad in the
oh, it is.
comics.
Oh,
Well, not
really?
anymore. It's retcons, but originally he was
Well, who's his dad
Nightcrawler's
now?
dad. Destiny.
I don't know who that is.
Destiny's the mom. Mystique's the dad.
Did not know that. Makes
Yeah,
sense. I
that
mean, she can do
it
whatever she
just got
wants.
retconned like recently, but
Interesting. I'm planning on once I finish the third Dune book, which I'm halfway through, and I have one more book. I'm planning on resubscribing to Marvel Unlimited and
I'm
diving
back
into
with the
X-Men.
X-Men.
I'm so back in. But I'm planning on diving into Chris Claremont's run because a
Mm.
lot of these episodes that we've done, his stories have inspired these movies, and they've been
Yeah,
the
he's one of the best X-Men writers.
yep. And so he has a long run. He's like a 15-year run
Hmm.
on X-Men, like uninterrupted, which is like kind of unheard of that length. But yeah, so Azazel's awesome. But I know that you have something to add
So
here because there's a character because Darwin is in the movie for like 5 minutes and then
yeah,
dies.
so Azazel rolls in with Shaw. The one thing I do want to say, which makes me laugh, just like Magneto and his Brotherhood. Again, you had this super persuasive guy. He rolls with like two people. Like it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
doesn't make sense.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so justice for Darwin. My heart goes out to Darwin. If you don't know, Darwin is basically an unkillable mutant. His power is to adapt to any situation. He's been shown in the comics to literally turn into death to avoid death. At
That's
one
awesome.
point, when World War Hulk, when Hulk came back and
Yeah,
was fucking the X-Men up, Darwin got teleported to like Mexico because it was the safest he could be. His body was like, nope, boop,
yeah.
bye.
We were Shane and I were just talking about this because he's rereading like that run like World War
Hmm.
Hulk and whatever. So it's funny we were
Yeah,
just
his
talking about
body's
that.
just like, you're gonna die, and teleports him to Mexico because that was the safest he could be from the Hulk.
That's incredible.
Um, and
That's
then I, you and I talked recently where in not the original run, but like in a newer run, it was established that Professor X had a team before the team that we know, like Angel, Beast. He had a team before that, and he got them massacred
yes.
because he was like inexperienced. He wiped everyone's mind and made everyone forget. And Darwin was one of those X-Men and like was surviving in space. His body was basically just like floating in
Well,
space until he could come back to Earth. And then
that's
came back to Earth
crazy.
and was like, Professor X is a scumbag, guys all killed. Like, why is this guy like a hero? So for Darwin to get fed like whatever
Havoc's
the hell Shaw gave him.
well, it's Havoc. It's he takes Havoc's
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. So Shaw's
beam.
power, we didn't really get into it.
No, we didn't. Shaw's power is that he can absorb energy,
Yeah.
and he has like 8 hands at one
He
point collecting
he
the
uses
energy.
it to like stay young. That's why he
Yeah.
still looks young. Whatever like kinetic absorption he kind of has, he could store inside of him,
Mhm.
displace it if he needs it, but he uses it mostly selfishly to like stay young in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, Havoc like shot him with some blast and he absorbed it, and then he turned on a ball and fed it to Darwin,
Hmm.
and he said adapt to this, and then Darwin turned to ashes and died,
Yep. Justice
which
for
was
Darwin.
this just poor writing
Well,
because Darwin
I feel like it
would
was
have just like turned to lead
well,
and
I feel
like
like it was intentional. I feel like it was intentional because it's like one of those things like this is a mutant that can never die, so we're gonna kill
that's it's just dumb. Then
him. Yeah.
have someone else.
But I
Like
mean,
I
you
don't
have
know
to for like a movie though. It's like
what
you
have
have
stakes. Kill Pixie or whatever her name was, Angel.
Angel. Yeah.
Spits acid. Kill her.
Yeah, but she was fun later. Those Zoe,
Stupid. But
oh, Zoe
anyway, justice for
Kravitz too.
Darwin, my boy Darwin, hashtag
Hashtag.
justice for Darwin.
This cast is stacked. I forgot like to mention that Angel is Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe
Like this
Kravitz,
is
yeah.
this is a at this point she was becoming a rising star. Like Jennifer Lawrence too. Like James McAvoy. Like a lot of these actors were up and coming. Like this cast is stacked.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even
Um,
the guy who plays Banshee, what, Caleb Laundry, like I've seen him in things. And then
yeah,
Nicholas Holt is a
yeah,
superstar now, so it's
yep.
like,
The Lex Luthor.
mm-hmm.
So another nitpick, really, really quickly, is that when Nicholas Holt, when Beast and Mystique are sitting together, and he's like, "I have the cure. I need your blood," and she turns back into her blue self. Not only does her skin change, but her robe that she's in, like, they like, it's not just like her skin changing; it's her clothing changing too. Like, it should just be a robe that's on top of her, but like the
What does a
whole
robe
of
change into?
just another robe. But like the effect goes over her
Oh, the
whole
effect
body.
goes over her robe,
Yeah,
so
yeah, it's like a
well,
weird
I mean, we
nitpick.
established her clothes are like part of her glimmer.
Yeah, but like,
So I guess if she was changing, she would have to change the whole thing.
she just has to change what's underneath her. 'Cause
But
she
it's
could be
not
wearing a
underneath
robe.
anything, it's a part of her skin.
Not always. Not always. But she
I
does
don't
change into a part that was an awesome cameo as well. When
Rebecca
Eric's
Romaine,
like,
yeah.
yeah, Eric's like, you should be older. And then she's like, how about now? And it's Rebecca Romaine. I'm
That
like,
was great, yeah.
this is amazing. This is fantastic. And then the movie, like, I don't have any other like call outs
Well,
other than
after Darwin dies, they do a training montage, and it's like it's
sure.
silly, it's fun. But again,
Uh,
I don't care about these kids.
and is this when they make the attack on the embassy?
That was
Is that
during them being
before? Because that scene's awesome. Like when they all use their powers, like Magneto just like comes and is like brushes everything up, and then Emma Frost is in there, and then you cut to the scene where
Yeah,
he's
that
like
was
making out with the
yeah.
ambassador, but then she's sitting on the because it's all in his head. She's sitting on the side. That was an
That's what
awesome scene.
Professor X does the truck trick. Like they open the back of
Yes,
the truck and no one's in there because he's
yes,
making them see. Yeah, it's like in between Azazel coming
okay,
and
yeah,
then the kids
like
hanging out. Because
yeah,
it was like super boring, and then they cut to that, and it was like super boring again.
yeah,
And then Azazel shows up.
hmm okay.
So good pacing. It's just like, again, I don't care about these kids. But fun
So
training montage with the kids. I absolutely hate Hank's super speed. He shouldn't run like a human. Like if he did like an animal like run,
yeah,
it would still look goofy, but it would make more sense.
sure.
Um, I do love Professor X unlocking a good memory for Magneto,
Oh, that scene was
and
so
that
great.
helps him
Hmm
uh move the
Just
satellite dish because again, the parallel of here's Hank Henshaw using fear
yep.
and a shitty memory to unlock that like power versus like Professor X being like, "Hey, you like Hanukkah, right? Hanukkah's great. Like, here's like you and your mom loved Hanukkah. Like, move
and
the satellite dish. Like,
and they, and
it fits the
again,
characters like so well.
these are some of the best performances in like any of the X-Men movies. Xavier and Magneto in this, like
Oh,
McAvoy
they're
and like
and
truly in any of the other movies, like maybe Logan is up there with like in terms of acting performances, but like they're so good. The emotional moments in these movies are so in this movie is so good, and I think that that's what puts it not only the action but puts it above the
yeah,
other movies because
as as much as sorry, I keep cutting you off, but like as much as like these movies go off the rail in terms of quality, like Days of Future Past is great, and then like Apocalypse kind of stinks, and then Phoenix is like absolute dog shit. Fassbender and McAvoy are fantastic at all of them.
yeah,
Like their chemistry create these movies. Like even though the movies are fucking dog shit later on, like them two together and their relationship is the only
so
reason to
good.
watch these movies.
Agreed. Because really, after first at Days of Future Past, it's all downhill.
Oh, way
Um,
downhill.
way downhill. So and then they got to prevent the war
Uh-huh.
from happening. And this scene's awesome, where you get to see them use their powers. to prevent, like Charles uses it to prevent World War III from happening and
Hmm.
the boats attacking each other. And then
Oh, how about their uniforms are cool?
the uniforms are great.
Yeah, the blue and yellow look cheesy, but they're cool.
It's the crate marked with an X. Meet me there.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, right on the nose, Hank. Huh?
And then what do I have my notes? Could not care less about Final Battle, except
Uh
for Shaw and Magneto.
yes, that's
That's it.
also that's my nitpick as well. Like these other things that are going on, it's like sure the action's cool, but I don't really care about what's going on
Yeah.
because it feels a little prolonged. If it mainly just focused on okay, we took care of the military side of things because the Magneto Shaw shit is incredible.
Hmm.
Like, and then even Hank or Xavier talking through Shaw
So
is
good.
is so good. And but everything else that's going on, I'm like, I don't really, and I should, but I don't really care about the mutants fighting each other
Yeah.
because it's like whatever. Like it's like when Banshee flies by and he jumps on the Banshee, like Banshee should fucking go right into the water, and then she hisses at his thing and whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
But
I don't even remember because I didn't care. I'd
yeah,
like,
like and that's a nitpick for me as well. Like I wasn't truly invested in the final battle, but I was invested in the character, conflict resolution between
mm,
Shaw and then the way that he fucking does it
yeah.
is awesome.
So what is it? Magneto goes into wherever Shaw is. What is
It's
the
like
inside
the
of? I
it's
forget.
inside the submarine, but it's like
It's
a
inside submarine.
protective
Yeah.
and it's like a protective room that Emma Frost helped him build to keep Xavier out.
Xavier out, and then he has the helmet.
And he has the helmet that the Russians gave him,
Yeah.
which becomes
So
Magneto's
then
helmet.
it's so yeah, like and then Hank or Headshaw's just doing like masterwork of villainy where it's like I made you, like you're nothing without me, but like being so nice about it to try to get him like
Yeah.
on his side, like it's so good. And then what happens? Like Magneto's able to use like a
So
cable, right?
they like break through, and so Charles can get to because Charles beating the shit out of Magneto, and then when he throws him against the glass, it breaks, and Charles can get through and kind of
No, because he still has the
hold
helmet.
Shaw.
He still has the helmet. How does he get the helmet off? It's once he takes off the helmet, he's able to.
I don't know.
I
Maybe he.
I feel like there's a cable. I think it's some kind of like cable he's able to snake because I think Magneto starts to say like, "Yeah, you're right. Like you made me," and like lulls him into like a security, and
Oh,
then I
maybe,
feel like a cable like grabs the helmet off his head, and then
maybe,
Professor X is able to like pop in,
and then freezes him, and
yeah,
then
and then
Magneto.
fucking Magneto dons the helmet, fucking awesome. So Professor X can't get into his head.
He says, what does he say to him? He's like, you may not. I don't know. Like they have the same means, but like basically Magneto's like, you wouldn't kill him, but I'm going to kill him
Yeah, he's like, "You
because
killed
you
my
killed
mom.
my
Fuck
mom.
you."
Yeah. Like, fuck yeah,
But
fuck yeah.
the shot and how this is all done is so good. Where like, so Magneto in the beginning of the movie, Shaw's trying to get him to move a coin. He can't move the coin, kills his mom. He's been carrying this coin his entire life. They shown it a few times. He does like
It's
he's
in
like rolling on his
literally
fingers with his
it's literally
magnetism.
the logo change too, is the coin. Like
Yeah,
they show the coin and then it cuts to black and the coin flips and it's like X-Men First
yeah.
Class.
So they've been showing this coin throughout the movie. You know it's important. And then like you realize like, oh, that's the same coin from the beginning of the movie. He's slowly moving it towards Shaw's head. And
Hmm.
like whole time Professor X like, don't do this. Come on, man. Come on, come on, come on. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. And it slowly fucking goes into Shaw's skull.
Hmm.
So slow. But the shot of like Kevin
Xavier.
Bacon frozen, it going into his head, and then it cuts to like Professor X at the same angle, and like him screaming.
Hmm.
And like rewatching it this time, I wonder if he feels the coins like damage because there was a part with the candles that when he unlocks the memory, he says like I felt like the joy in the
Joy.
memory.
Yeah.
So like I wonder if like almost I know he's screaming because like his friend's murdering
No,
this
but
guy.
it's mainly I think he feels it, but it's all because it's because he's murdering him, like he's
Mm,
upset. but then he's feeling the pain of it, and it's also like, Charles, just let go.
Yeah.
Like at that
Yeah.
point, like at that point, just let go.
Yeah,
But I guess when you start
he's
to feel,
donezo. Like he
yeah,
can't
yeah,
he's not
can't
gonna
do
absorb
anything.
it that far into his head.
No, but yeah,
I
no, it's a great scene.
That shot is so good though. And it's just like
It's a
everything about that scene is
it's a
chef's kiss. Mwah. Helmet
yep.
on head, mwah.
It's
Magneto's monologue, mwah.
and it's a scene that sticks with you. Like when I think of that
Yep.
movie, that's the scene I think
Mm-hmm.
of. That and this awful beast.
Shaking my head.
And then they go outside, and then Charles becomes paralyzed.
Yeah, Moira, right? Moira starts unloading.
No, no, no. It's yeah, yeah, yeah. She starts unloading the gun, and
Yeah, she starts shooting at Magneto.
Magneto deflects it, and it hits Charles
Yeah.
perfectly in the back. Yeah, and he's like, "She didn't do this, you did,"
Mm.
and he's like,
Yeah,
"Fuck."
it's just awesome. He's like, I wanted you on my team, brother. And you're just like, oh God, like
Hmm. And
they
then they
loved
just,
each other. It
and
could
then
have been
they just,
fine.
and then they just leave.
Yeah, well, he gets his team and they all hold hands.
Yep, and they float
And then
off.
Azazel teleports him out. He has his brotherhood.
The
And then,
brother of the
spoiler
moon.
alert, all those side characters die in the next movie.
I forgot.
In
Oh
like
yeah.
you just see like photos of them dead. And it's just like, oh, okay.
And then Charles wipes what's her name? Moira's mind.
Yeah.
And so she never remembers anything. And that's a fun scene in the movie where
Mm,
she's like, I don't remember anything. She's like telling the CIA. And he's like, this is why women should never be in the CIA.
hmm
And it's like, ah, fuck off. Okay.
That's
Um,
60s.
yeah.
It was acceptable back then.
But yeah, that's the end of the
Well,
movie.
that's not the end.
What
Then you
else
get
is
Magneto like breaking people
Oh,
out,
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. He's
wearing
the
the
suit.
fucking helmet, the cape, the whole regalia.
Yep.
Where did that go?
Yeah. Well, he has it. Oh, yeah, in the next movies. That's what you
It
mean,
just
right?
where did it go? They're just like, that looks stupid. Because I don't even think the helmet's
No,
like purple the next movie, is it?
I don't remember, but like that's the outfit from X-Men, the first X-Men movie.
It's
That
not though.
yeah, it is.
Not
When he's
really.
wearing like the button up and then the
I just
cape.
mean the next like movies. Like the
Yeah,
next
yeah,
movie,
yeah. They were just
he's
like,
not
nah.
wearing that. Like,
They're like, yeah, we're done with what. Well,
yeah.
Days of Future Past kind of resets everything anyway.
Yeah, I know, but it's just it's just funny.
Agreed.
I was like, where the fuck did this outfit go?
He looks awesome. I agree.
Oh
It's
yeah,
awesome.
it looks cheesily off, like
Yeah,
awesome.
and he rescues Emma Frost, who was just sitting in a cage.
Is that your rescues? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how the movie ends.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, it's a fun
Let's
movie,
free
man.
her and then
Yeah.
just kill her off.
So yeah, that's First Class. That's like the highlights and things that we really liked.
Love this movie. 5 out of 5.
You gave it a
I
5 out of
saw it
5.
absolutely. For all its faults, I really enjoy this movie. This is the vibe that I want for Marvel's X-Men.
Hmm.
Like, but with kids I care about. But this is like that relationship of Charles and Magneto, and like you need a villain that like parallels the both of them. Like the writing in this movie is so good. The shots are incredible. The whole vibe of like this James Bond-esque like 60s music, and
Yeah,
even the end credits looks like a James Bond like film. Like I love a lot about this movie. For
yeah.
like the little bit of faults it has, this is still a 5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, this is a 4 out of 5 for me. I think revisiting, I liked it slightly less. But it also could have been just my mood that I was in. Because the pacing of this movie is strange. Where there's some moments where I'm like, God damn, like this is amazing too.
Mm.
Okay, like it lost my attention. I paused it. I actually took a nap during it. Like,
That's it. You just didn't enjoy it.
eh,
You
eh,
didn't get the full.
I didn't get like the first time I saw it, and I love this movie. I
Hmm.
think it's a great movie, but I think there was just things that I noticed and nitpicked, and then part of this rewatch too is like revisiting it, and I think that the first two X-Men movies are better than this one. So my ranking is that this would be X-Men X2, then First Class, and
Yeah,
I
I
think
think.
those are high. Like those X-Men 1 and 2 are great movies.
Oh yeah.
But I know that the creme de the creme is next. Like I know my
Mm.
favorite X Men movie is next.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think this, if I had to rank them, this would be my number one.
mhm.
And then like X-Men 2000 is like right there though. It's like a 99% on a test. And then like right underneath it's like a 99.4. Like that's just like it's
Yeah,
and then X2 is obviously like fantastic for its own reasons, but I think this one's like my favorite. I don't and
yeah,
I think it's the same love that I have for the 2001 where it's like the casting is incredible.
yeah.
And then
And
like
I think
it's
there's a
just
lot to be said about the emotional elements of the film that really elevate it, and then the contrast between the
mm,
good, the light, and the dark, basically, of the things that are going on in the film. And then it's a great action film too.
yeah, that's Vaughn. Like I love a lot of his shots. I love
Hmm.
his action is just like so kinetic. Like when
Hmm.
he's at the bar and he just gets a guy shoot, and he's just
Yeah.
Magneto's just doing stuff, and you're just like, whoa, what the? And he's just like, I'm gonna drink a beer. Like
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
Kingsman, where like if you watch the Kingsman, it's that very like frenetic, and then it
Yeah.
like stops, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh okay, and then it's all of a sudden it's just like da 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 again.
Yeah. The dust settles a bit. I
Mm,
think maybe if I watch this on a different day, a 4.5. But I'm confident in my score. I think it's a good
mm-hmm.
score. I do love this movie. I think it is one of the better superhero movies, like in terms of writing. Like I think there's a lot of things, but then there's a lot of things that they didn't do well with some of the characters that could have been cooler.
Yeah,
And so
that's
like Charles, basically this movie to me is just Charles and Magneto, and
yep.
that elevates, and Raven obviously, and awesome cast. Like
Yeah.
it's a great entry into a bunch of poo poo, most of the points, but
Oof, it goes downhill fast. You thought X3 and
yeah.
Wolverine Origins were bad. Wait till you get to.
Well,
But
next
even like
is
Apocalypse, like as much as there's a lot I can have a problem with that movie. Again, of like Fassbender and McAvoy, and then some of the other people they bring in, the cast is strong.
yeah,
And then by the time you get to like for the
yeah,
Phoenix, the only good part is the train at the end
yeah.
where they all use their powers. Other than that, that movie is
Even that
straight garbage.
that movie stinks.
I can't wait
Uh,
to see her reviews that. Good luck.
and I think that their performances are elevated in Days of Future Past too. Like
Mm.
it's continuing that, but
The emotion like is really high in that movie.
yeah,
I know we're not talking
movie's
about that movie, but like when
movie's so good.
a good McAvoy is being talked to by Future, what's his name? Future Press X. What the hell's his name? Blanking. Actor.
Oh, not Ian McKellen.
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. Yeah.
So when Patrick Stewart's like talking to his past self,
Hmm.
it's so like that part, I'm just like, oh, like it's so good.
Yep. And
Like
I
the
remember,
emotion of that movie is
and like
fantastic.
with him having to like focus his powers on his back or whatever, like that whole
Hey, I
scene
don't know
was,
what that was. I
I
don't
forget
know.
that, but yeah, no, this is a great movie. I was really happy to revisit it. I'm glad you called your shot. Um, and I hope that they do something similar, but I don't think they will. I think we're going to get a standard X-Men when Marvel relaunches, and the rumor is that's going to focus on their female characters and characters we haven't seen. But I do think Charles and Magneto have to be in the film, obviously.
Let's give Jubilee her shot.
Yeah,
Finally,
sure.
they tried
Storm.
to they try to make Jubilee work. Like
Yeah.
every movie has a different Jubilee in
Yeah.
its deleted scene.
Yeah, because it works well in the animation.
It's
But
perfect.
yeah, I think that about does it. Yeah, what do you got to plug, man?
Nothing. Gateway Gamers. That's kind of it. Gateway Gamers. We play board games, RP and I,
Yeah.
and that's it. I don't know. I plug it every week, so all the four of you listeners know because you listen. All four of you listen to that as well. So
Yeah. Well, due up next would be and should be the Wolverine, followed by Days of Future Past, but it is July, so just be on the lookout for something different to get you all ready for Deadpool and Wolverine. No, I know that all the movies haven't been great, but this is truly a great one. If you're watching along, I hope you're enjoying it. And yeah, stay tuned for what's coming next. Marvel, thank you as always for joining me. Love you, buddy. And we love all you listeners. Remember to check out the Redbubble and T Public store. And we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
see ya.
Bye.